Before history had a name, before the world was mapped or the stars were charted, there was the struggle.
It was a constant, a truth etched into the very ice and rock of the planet. For a fragile species standing upright against the crushing indifference of nature, every sunrise was a declaration of war, every sunset, a temporary truce.
The prize was not power or wealth or glory. It was simpler and infinitely more precious. The chance to draw another breath.
This is the story of that fight. Not a story of kings or empires, but of the raw, desperate, and magnificent will to endure. It is the story of us.
The world was a masterpiece of unforgiving design, a cathedral of stone and sky that demanded sacrifice. The air itself was a predator, stealing warmth from bone and marrow.
The ground, a treacherous ledger of tracks, those of the hunter and those of the hunted. In this age, life was a currency spent with brutal efficiency. To misread the sky, to mistake a shadow for a stone, to lose one's footing for a single fleeting moment. These were not simple errors.
They were final statements. Every creature was armed for this reality, equipped with fang or claw or venom or speed.
Humanity's only true weapon was hidden behind the eyes. It was a flickering candle in a hurricane. The mind.
Hunger was the ghost that haunted every waking moment. It was a dull ache that sharpened the senses, a silent tyrant that drove every decision. The great hunt was not a choice. It was a commandment.
It was a complex ballet of terror and strategy, a deep and intimate understanding between predator and prey. To succeed was to earn a few more days of existence. To fail was to become a memory.
Every sinew of the hunter's body was a tool. Legs to track, arms to throw, eyes to see the subtle language of the wild. They learned the rhythm of the seasons, the mind of the herd, the scent of rain on the wind.
This was not merely a search for food. It was a profound and violent conversation with the world itself.
But muscle and instinct were not enough. The human body was a fragile vessel in a world of titans. And so, they dreamed of claws sharper than any beast, of a hide tougher than leather. They became the first inventors, the first engineers.
From the cold, dead heart of a stone, they coaxed a razor's edge. From a fallen branch, they shaped an extension of the human will. A spear that could fly farther and strike harder than any fist.
These were not just tools, they were ideas made real. Each carefully crafted point, each balanced shaft, was a testament to the power of foresight.
It was the physical manifestation of a revolutionary concept, that one did not have to accept the world as it was. One could change it.
Yet for every problem solved, the world presented a new, more terrible challenge. The darkness did not belong to them. It was the domain of the true masters of this age, creatures of nightmare, armed with nature's most perfect weapons.
In the shadow of these great predators, humanity was an afterthought, a fleeting opportunity for a meal. The night was filled with eyes that could see in the dark and teeth that could crush bone to powder.
A confrontation was not a battle of equals. It was a test of nerve against raw, unthinking power. To survive was to outwit, to outmaneuver, to use the landscape itself as a shield, pushed back the night and held the predators at bay. It unlocked the hidden energy in food, making them stronger, healthier. It became the heart of their world, a gathering place, a workshop, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness.
With fire, they were no longer just another creature cowering from the cold. They were becoming the masters of their own destiny. They had found the flame, and it would change everything.
Look at the world we have built. Look at the light we command, the knowledge we possess, the heights we have scaled. It is easy to forget that every city, every symphony, every dream we dare to chase is built upon the legacy of that ancient struggle.
Their desperation became our ingenuity. Their cooperation became our society. Their fear of the dark drove us to fill it with light. They were the architects of our spirit, fighting a war that lasted 1,000,000 years, with no guarantee of victory.
We carry their fire within us. It is in our resilience, our curiosity, our unyielding instinct to not just survive, but to strive. Their story is written in our blood, and their unconquered flame still burns behind our eyes.
But this fire did more than just warm the body, it illuminated the mind. In the quiet moments between the hunt and the dawn, a new universe began to take shape. An inner world as vast and uncharted as the icy plains outside. For the first time, a creature on this planet was not just living in the present moment, but was becoming a traveler in time.
The mind learned to hold on to yesterday, to see the faces of the lost, to feel the phantom warmth of a past success. Memory was no longer just a survival instinct, the location of a water source, the track of a beast. It was becoming the bedrock of identity.
With memory came a heavier burden and a greater strength, emotion. The pain of loss was no longer a fleeting instinct, but a deep and lasting grief that carved itself into the soul. The bond between a mother and child, the loyalty between hunting partners, the affection for the clan, these forces became as powerful as hunger or fear.
Empathy was born in these firelit spaces. To see pain in another's eyes and to feel it as your own was a revolutionary leap. It was the glue that would bind them together, allowing them to care for the injured, protect the weak, and ensure that the collective was stronger than any single member. They began to understand that a life was not just a biological process, but a story, and that the end of a story was a tragedy worth mourning.
How do you share a memory? How do you describe a future that does not yet exist? The grunts and gestures that had served them for millennia were no longer enough. Within their throats and their minds, the greatest of all tools was being forged. Language! It began simply. A sound for lion, a gesture for water, a warning cry, but it grew into something more.
It became the vessel for complex thought. With language, they could plan hunts with devastating precision. They could teach their children the hard-won lessons of generations without having to repeat the fatal mistakes. They could sit around a fire and share stories, weaving the threads of their individual lives into a shared tribal identity.
Language was the code that unlocked cooperation on a scale never before seen on Earth. It allowed them to build a world of ideas, to stand together not just in body, but in mind.
A sacred map to a world of spirits we will never truly know. But here, in the darkness, we see the first evidence of a human soul wrestling with the great mysteries of existence. It is the dawn of belief, the dawn of culture.
This burgeoning inner world forced them to confront the ultimate question. What happens when the breath leaves the body? For other creatures, death was simply the end, but for them, it became a transition. They began to bury their dead with intention, with ceremony.
They laid them to rest with their tools, their ornaments, perhaps an offering of food. They covered them in the sacred red ochre, as if trying to breathe life back into the cold flesh. This was not the act of a species that believed in endings.
It was the act of a species that dared to hope. It was the first, flickering belief in a reality beyond the one they could see. A whisper of an afterlife, a journey that continued after death. It was the moment they stopped just fighting for their lives and started searching for meaning in them.
They faced a world of ice and darkness. They learned that the sharpest tool was an idea, and the strongest shelter was each other. The fire they guarded through an endless night was more than just a flame. It was a promise they kept so that we could exist.